Noah, a 17-year-old high school student, spends his evenings delivering pizza to make extra cash. It's a routine job, and he's used to the quiet suburban neighborhoods he serves. One evening, his last delivery takes him to a house that feels out of place. The old rundown property is on the edge of town with overgrown weeds and broken shutters. Noah knocks on the door, feeling a slight unease as the wind whispers through the trees. The door creaks open, revealing Mrs. Ellison, a frail elderly woman with silver hair and deep, tired eyes. She takes the pizza, but her gaze lingers on him a bit too long, almost as if she's expecting him. "Thank you," she murmurs, her voice soft but tremulous. Then, in a strange gesture, she reaches for an old rolled-up map that's tucked in the folds of a dusty cabinet. "Take this, it's for someone like you," she says cryptically, her hand shaking as she hands it to him. Noah, confused but polite, accepts the map without questioning it. The moment feels unsettling, but he shrugs it off as he walks back to his car. He notices movement in the window, like shadows lurking just out of sight. His gut tells him something's wrong, but he dismisses it as his imagination running wild. The map feels heavier in his hands as he drives away. Back at his small apartment, Noah unrolls the map on his desk, intrigued by the cryptic symbols and faded ink. It's unlike anything he's ever seen. Ancient-looking, with no markings he can recognize, he traces his fingers along the map, noticing a red X that marks a spot in the woods just outside of town. The further he looks, the more unsettled he becomes. Something about the map calls to him, and a sense of foreboding creeps into his thoughts. It's just a map, but why did Mrs. Ellison seem so desperate for him to take it? Noah tries to ignore the feeling, telling himself it's just a strange coincidence. However, when he goes to bed that night, his dreams are filled with fragmented images of the map and a hidden treasure. He wakes up with a sense of urgency, the pull of the red X on the map drawing him in. He can't explain why, but he knows he has to go to the spot. The next morning, as Noah prepares to leave for school, he notices something odd. A black car parked near his building. It's the same car he saw earlier following him after the delivery. Noah feels a surge of paranoia, but he brushes it off, convincing himself it's just a coincidence. Yet the unsettling feeling continues to gnaw at him. He can't shake the thought that he's being watched. Noah can't shake the feeling that something is watching him. The black car continues to shadow him wherever he goes, always just far enough behind to remain unnoticed, but close enough to be unsettling. He starts to feel trapped, like he's part of something much bigger than he ever imagined. His unease deepens when he overhears a conversation at school between two men who seem to be asking about Mrs. Ellison and the map she gave him. They mention the treasure in hushed tones, hinting that it's been lost for years but is believed to be hidden nearby. That night, Noah's mind races. He's always been a curious person, but this feels different. Something about the map is pulling him in, making him question everything. He wonders if Mrs. Ellison knew more than she let on. Unable to resist, he decides to follow the map's marked location. The next day, Noah ventures into the woods just outside town, his heart pounding in his chest. The trees loom overhead, casting long shadows, and the air feels thick with an eerie stillness. As he walks deeper into the forest, he begins to notice strange signs. Markings on trees, a faded trail, and a faint scent of something metallic in the air. When he reaches the marked spot, he stumbles upon a weathered chest, half buried under the earth, its lock covered in strange symbols. Noah's pulse quickens as he stands over the chest, frozen in place. Just as he moves to open it, the sound of heavy footsteps behind him breaks the silence. Turning around, he sees the two men from the car emerging from the shadows of the trees, their faces cold and expressionless. They are dressed in dark coats, their eyes sharp and calculating. One of them, the taller one with a scar on his cheek, steps forward. "We've been looking for that," the man says, his voice low and menacing. "Give us the map." Now, Noah's heart races, realizing that the men aren't just after the treasure. They're after the map itself. It's clear they've been tracking him for days. The tall man gestures for the other to move in closer, and Noah instinctively takes a step back, the chest still locked tight in front of him. "What's going on?" Noah asks, trying to sound calm, though his voice betrays his fear. "Who are you?" The second man smiles cruelly. "We're the ones who have been searching for this treasure for years. You just happen to be in our way. Hand over the map, and no one gets hurt." Noah's mind races. His options are few. Give them the map and back away, or stand his ground and fight for the secret that's now consuming him. The weight of the chest in front of him feels heavier than ever, and the uncertainty of what lies inside both terrifies and entices him. The air around Noah feels thick with tension as the two men close in on him. His hands tremble as he holds the map, his mind racing with thoughts of what he should do. The chest in front of him, old, mysterious, and locked, feels like a burden now, its secrets pressing down on him. He has no choice but to make a decision. If he gives them the map, he can walk away unharmed, but the treasure will slip further from his grasp. If he refuses, the men might force him, and who knows what they'll do to protect their interests. Noah stares at the chest and then back at the men. Something deep inside him shifts. He's no longer just a delivery boy caught up in someone else's game. He's now part of a much larger mystery, one that could change everything. The men, sensing his hesitation, begin to advance. "Last chance, kid," the taller man warns, his eyes cold as ice. Noah's instincts tell him he can't back down now. He remembers Mrs. Ellison's strange words, the urgency in her voice. This isn't just about treasure. It's about something much darker. He reaches for the chest and with a quick motion manages to pry it open. A blinding light pours out, momentarily blinding him. The men flinch, caught off guard. What the hell? The second man mutters, stepping back in surprise. The chest is filled with ancient artifacts, their power tangible, but as the light fades, something more sinister begins to emerge from within. Noah stands frozen, staring at the artifacts inside the chest. The blinding light recedes, revealing ancient relics, golden idols, ornate jewelry, and strange, glowing symbols etched into the objects, but it's not the treasure itself that makes Noah's heart race. It's the dark energy radiating from them. The air around him feels charged, almost oppressive. A low echoes in the silence, growing louder the longer he stands there. The two men, now visibly shaken, exchange worried glances. You don't know what you've done. The scarred man hisses, his voice filled with dread. The other man, once confident, now looks apprehensive. You've unleashed it. What do you mean, unleashed? Noah asks, his voice trembling. What is all of this? The scarred man steps forward, fear in his eyes. It's treasure. It's cursed. It's not just gold and jewels. It's a key to something far more powerful, something we've been searching for to control for centuries. Noah's mind spins. Mrs. Ellison must have known what was hidden here. She had warned him in a cryptic way, but he hadn't understood. The map wasn't just a guide to treasure. It was a map to an ancient power, something that could change the world. But now that it's out in the open, the men will stop at nothing to claim it. Noah's hands are shaking as he stands before the chest, the ancient relics pulsating with an eerie, otherworldly energy. The men close in, each step they take reminding him of how much danger he's in. The scarred man's words echo in his mind. You've unleashed it. The weight of the situation bears down on him. This is no longer about treasure. It's about stopping a force much darker and more dangerous than he ever imagined. You don't have to do this, Noah says, his voice more confident now, though still laced with fear. I won't let you have it. The men laugh, their confidence returning as they advance. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The second man sneers, his hand reaching for the relics. Noah knows he's outmatched. The relics are powerful, and these men won't stop until they possess them. But the pieces of the puzzle are starting to fall into place. Mrs. Ellison, the strange map, the cryptic warning, it's all connected. Noah has no choice but to protect these relics from falling into the wrong hands. He has to destroy them or hide them before the men can use them for their own dark purposes. In a split-second decision, Noah grabs one of the glowing relics from the chest, holding it tightly in his hand. The moment he touches it, a surge of energy floods his body, and a vision of an ancient civilization flashes before his eyes. Rulers who once wielded this power and the destruction they left behind. Noah's hands are shaking as he stands before the chest, the ancient relics pulsating with an eerie, otherworldly energy. The men close in, each step they take reminding him of how much danger he's in. The scarred man's words echo in his mind. You've unleashed it. The weight of the situation bears down on him. This is no longer about treasure. It's about stopping a force much darker and more dangerous than he ever imagined. You don't have to do this, Noah says, his voice more confident now, though still laced with fear. I won't let you have it. The men laugh, their confidence returning as they advance. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The second man sneers, his hand reaching for the relics. Noah knows he's outmatched. The relics are powerful, and these men won't stop until they possess them. But the pieces of the puzzle are starting to fall into place. Mrs. Ellison, the strange map, the cryptic warning, it's all connected. Noah has no choice but to protect these relics from falling into the wrong hands. He has to destroy them or hide them before the men can use them for their own dark purposes. In a split-second decision, Noah grabs one of the glowing relics from the chest, holding it tightly in his hand. The moment he touches it, a surge of energy floods his body, and a vision of an ancient civilization flashes before his eyes. Rulers who once wielded this power and the destruction they left behind.